Hey, all about fishing with Big Kev. Stay tuned. We're talking rods and how to select the right one. Hey, welcome back to the channel, all about fishing with Big Kev. Hey, first, like and subscribe. Love to have you on the channel. Hey, I've been doing some educational videos trying to help people understand equipment a little better. It's overwhelming when you get into these stores. I did 4 videos on just basic rods and reels and tackle, tying knots. Hopefully getting the young angler, the old angler, families back out on the water, enjoying the outdoors, and enjoying the sport of fishing. So you've purchased your combo, as I talked to you in the previous video. You've got out there, and now you've got time under your belt on your fishing, and now you're thinking, hey, I want to advance a little more in my gear. So today we're going to talk about when you go into the stores. You'll see tons of rods sitting in racks, just sitting there without reels on them. Which rod do I buy? So I want to talk to you about that and explain to you the difference in the rods, because they're not all the same. Different rods do different things, and different rods act differently. And so hopefully I can kind of explain this to you to where it's easier to understand. Now, before we start, any fishing pole is going to catch fish. What I'm trying to do is get you a little more into the advanced to where you're not buying the wrong pole to do a different style of fishing. So when you look at poles, on your poles, when you pull them off the shelf, they're going to have wording on them. They're going to have, who made it, and most of them, like this is a Quantum Vapor. So it just tells me that this is a Quantum Vapor. That's the brand and the model. But if you turn it around, it's going to have some wording on it. And it's going to tell you the action, the rod, the length of the rod, what the optimum weight of line to use with that rod, and also the optimum weight of lure, the variance of what lure weight would work best with that rod. And then it's going to have probably a model number. So for instance, this is a Quantum Vapor rod. It's made of graphite, so it's a graphite rod. And we'll get into that a little bit here in a second. But this one says 6 foot 10 inches. Medium heavy. What is medium heavy? So when you're getting rods, you can get them what they call ultralights. Ultralights is a smaller rod. It's a tinier rod, a thinner rod, and it's designed for your smaller fish, your panfish, and you'll use small jigs, spinners, and your smaller what they call micro baits, the smaller, lighter weight spinners, jigs, all kinds of little things to that nature. But these are ultralights. And when you get into the action of this, what they're trying to tell you is that, this was a medium heavy, this is an ultralight. Here's one here that is, the action is medium. So what they're explaining there is every rod has a backbone in it. And the backbone is the very stiff part of the rod. This is the part that doesn't really, it will flex, but it's not the part that really just bends when you catch a fish. So with an ultralight, your backbone's way back in here in the rod, and your tip will bend. You can get a lot of bend in that. So your bend is clear up into here. You're 2.5, 3 foot into the rod, your bend, before you get into this backbone part. So an ultralight's going to be a lot lot more flexible rod than a medium heavy rod. Light's going to be the same way. Medium light or medium. Here's a medium, and you can see your backbone starts kind of up in here in the 2.5, 3 foot range, but you still have some good flex in your tip. But when you get into a medium, or a heavy, medium heavy, your backbone's clear up in here, and your flex is in the first 12, 14 inches of the rod. And then you're into this backbone of the rod. So depending on the style of fishing you're doing, so medium heavy, this one's going to be more for your heavier spinner baits, jigs, worms, crankbaits, heavier spoons, your deep diving crankbaits, something that's going to take a lot more force on the equipment to drag it through the water. So you use a stiffer backbone, stiffer rod where your tip is about all you get the flex in. A lot of my videos, in fact, a lot of my rods are medium heavy. So if you look at some of those videos of mine where I'm catching white bass and things, you'll see that most of that rod is stiff, except for like the last 12, 14 inches of that rod is what's bent over. And that's because I'm throwing heavy spinners and things like that. So when you get to your medium light, so your ultralights are for your small pan fish, your small jigs, your small spinners, micro baits. Medium rods are going to be more for like doing drop shot, crankbaits, top waters, jerk baits, something that require a little more finesse. Medium heavy again is your spinners, doing jigging, worming, spoons, buzz baits, top water, diving crankbaits, things to that nature. And then your heavy rods are going to be for like your umbrella rigs, where you're dragging a massive load of lure, a massive load through the water. Or let's say you're trolling in a boat, where you're, the force of the boat moving, and you got some lures on there that are, creating a lot of resistance. You want that heavier rod. So hopefully, when you see one that says light, ultralight, medium, medium heavy, hopefully that explains a little bit of that, and you guys understand that. Now, when it comes to the weights of the line, they're very, this one's good for 8 to 17. So there's a broad range of weight that this medium heavy rod will use. And then 1/4 ounce to 1/2 ounce lures. So it's a heavier lure. Where the ultralight is, this one here in particular is a 4 foot 6 inch. So it's a smaller rod. You can get an ultralight. I've got some crappie rods that are 10, 13 foot long, but still require the same line and weight of the lure. Here, the line is 2 to 6 pounds. So it's a lighter line, a lighter, it's going to be a lighter lure. You're, up to maybe an 1/8 ounce lure. So choose your rod to the style of fishing. And that's why you see a lot of people have different rods in their boats, or they carry 2 or 3 rods with them. Maybe they're fishing on the bottom for catfish with one, and they're casting spinners or something with the other. It allows it to do different things. So this is, like I said, if you're wanting to get into a little more technical into the fishing aspect with your equipment, then you can kind of decide which rod, and then, and then again, match it to the right reel. If it's spinning, this is a spinning rod, ultralight spinning rod, so you use a lighter spinning reel, ultralight spinning reel. You won't use a big spinning reel, you use the smaller ultralight ones. Remember your line size. Your reels will have the same thing. So also when it comes to rods comment this rod here, this is the Quantum Vapor. This is a one-piece rod. It does not break apart. And a lot of your one-piece rods, the blank is the shaft. Okay, these are your guides. The guides are what the string goes through. But the blank, a lot of your one-piece blanks will go clear through the handle all the way to the end. It's one piece and then the handles. That allows for better sensitivity in the rod. So a lot of your one-piece rods are going to be a lot more sensitive when you're feeling the fish peck at them than your two-piece rod. But there are some really good two-piece rods as well. Then you've got your reel seat. Reel seats come in different ways. The old school ones had a little clamp with a screw on it. These kind of have a threaded deal that clips over the foot of the reel. And then you also have the handle, which you can get cork. This is kind of a split handle. The new thing out is the split handle, where your older handles are more solid. So you can see the difference there. You got a solid cork and then a split, where the split's right there. But you got cork as far as handles go. Some foam, some are foam. It's just a preference. A lot of buying a fishing pole is preference. Just what you get used to, you kind of get into that groove. And then they even got what they call a pistol grip. You know, if you want that, just to hold on to the very end of that rod, here's one of those screw type, clamp down onto the reel foot type mounts. It doesn't have the threaded part like these others. So they come in all different kinds, shapes, sizes. But, you know, you reel in big fish with these things, and you see these things flex pretty good. Some of these rods are fiberglass, and they'll take a lot more. But your graphite and stuff are very strong. But if you want to sit there and just pull on that tip, you will break these. And, you know, these are designed with the guides and the string that the fulcrum of the bend of the pole is distributed through the line. So that's why these poles will take a lot of bending with the line in a fish. But if you sit there and try to bend it with your hand, you will snap these. So, you know, there's engineering in these. And I suggest, too, get on YouTube and watch the video of them making rods. It is phenomenal how these are made and how they're, you know, what goes into making a graphite rod or anything. The old school rods back in the day, I used to have some. I don't see any right now laying around, but they used to be, is that one right there? Here's an old rod this old school, antique, I collect a lot of these. That's solid steel. That is a steel rod, and that's what they did back in the day. It's just a steel stick, and it's heavy. It's very heavy, but that's what they had back in the day. Still used the cork handles and the old style reels. But so they've gone from steel to fiberglass to graphite, composite, just to make it lighter. Sensitivity is a big thing. So hopefully I've helped you understand a little bit about rods and what to pick out. A good all-around rod would be a medium to do about anything: bass, walleye, panfish. That's a good all-around rod, a medium. If you want to get into more finesse with the medium heavy, then you get into the lighter, you know, your crankbaits and larger crankbaits, bigger spinners and spoons. So hey, like and subscribe. You know, get some time, go to the big box stores. Just look at them and take your time. You know, don't choose it by the color or the style. Lengthwise, anything from 6 to 7. The longer the rod, the less control you're going to have on your cast. So if you stay in the 5.5, 6 foot length, you're going to have more accuracy with your cast with the 5.5, 6 foot rod, to where if you get into the 7, 8, and 9s, your accuracy is not as good. But the longer the rod, the farther you're going to cast. So if you're on shore and you want to get way out, that's why you see these guys sitting on the beaches out at the ocean, got these 12, 15 foot rods. They're slinging, you know, 2 or 3 ounces of weight out there, but they're slinging that thing a long ways because they have such a long rod. If they would have done the same thing with a 5 or 6 foot rod, they wouldn't go a quarter of the distance. So shorter the rod, the more accurate you're going to be. The longer the rod, the farther the cast will be, depending on the style of fishing you're doing. So if you're doing bottom fishing for cats and things, and you want a longer rod to get out there, then get your 7-8 foot rods. So hopefully that helps you out. All about fishing with Big Cav. Hey, hope your angling experience is a good one. The sport is just phenomenal. And, you know, some of us get crazy with it, but it's an inexpensive sport if you just want to get into it and touch it. You know, you don't have to have $1 million equipment, $1 million lures. Go out there and enjoy. Enjoy your family on the water. Until we see you again, Tight Lines, everyone, take care.